Hi, I'm Matt,
Hey, I'm Jess.
and we are counselors at App State's Counseling Center here with another virtual workshop as part of our Healthy Emotions and Life Skills, or HEALS, talking today about emotion regulation. So before we get started, we have to go over some informed consent information. This and our other quick access virtual workshops are not intended to be treatment by nature. They're psychoeducational. They don't represent an emergency response to any situations you might be having. If you would like some mental health treatment or are encountering a mental health concern, we encourage you to visit our website or give us a call to learn more about our services. And if you're having an emergency, such as active suicidal thoughts, please visit our website to read about emergency resources or call your local emergency responders. Your resources might differ based on your location. And this is going to be a recording of our quick access workshop series, but we are offering these live every week during the semester. Here's just a quick snapshot of our emergency page. So if you are having an emergency, you can navigate to the emergency tab at the top of our website and find some information there. So our objectives today are we're going to be talking a lot about the importance of emotion. What functions do they serve for us? What do they do? We're going to talk about ways to regulate or manage our emotions or our feelings. We'll move into the impact of interpreting events, what that can do for our emotional experience. We're going to introduce please and the self-soothing skills for regulating emotions. And of course, we'll wrap up with some ways you can get some more information. With all of our quick access workshops, we're going to start with mindfulness. And if you tuned into our last one or have attended our other workshop on mindfulness, you know that mindfulness is increasing our awareness of the current moment and applying a non-judgmental framework or mindset to whatever our experience is. And mindfulness is sort of at the core of our HEALS workshops, which operate from a DBT or Dialectical Behavior Therapy. And when we're applying mindfulness, this can be an important skill for any aspect of DBT, like emotion regulation. We're going to be introducing a skill at the start of each workshop, and today's skill is 4-4-6 breathing. 4-4-6 breathing is a really straightforward way to help regulate what we're feeling and our physiological experience. The process is going to be to inhale slowly and in a controlled way for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, and then exhale that breath for 6 seconds. 4-4-6. I'll lead us through a couple of cycles, and I'll encourage you to do this along with me as you're watching. And notice for any changes in your body or in your mindset as we go through 4-4-6. So first, inhale for 4, hold for 4, and now exhale for 6. Let's take it again. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. That's a very quick introduction to 4-4-6 breathing. Take a second to check in with yourself. Maybe you feel slightly more relaxed, a little bit more centered or grounded. An activity like 4-4-6 breathing can be done just about anywhere and can be really helpful as a way to increase our mindfulness and increase our ability to use skills and tools to help us negotiate or navigate tough moments. So we want to talk today about emotion regulation, and to do that, we need to talk about emotions. What's the importance, or what are the functions of emotions? Emotions play a really primal form or a really basic form of communication. They represent a way that we can navigate sort of the social world. They tell us and they tell other people how we're doing, what our status is. They can help enhance our social connections as we appropriately read and respond to emotions. If you've ever noticed a gut feeling about a person or a situation, that's you using your emotions to help you navigate a decision point, deciding what to do. Take a look at the faces on the right here. They're all demonstrating really basic forms of emotion. We can't hear anything they're saying, We don't know anything about their particular situations, but we can glean a lot of information just by reading their faces. So emotions can give us a lot of information in a very quick snapshot. Emotions can also be really motivating for us. They can help us to take quick action. Maybe if our gut feeling is strong enough, we act on it. We get out of a bad spot. We avoid something we really don't want to face right now. Or our emotions guide us to do something. So emotion can have a really motivating, empowering role. And of course, they influence what we think and how we act. If we're not feeling so hot, if we're feeling kind of upset, maybe we're more likely to think negatively about ourselves and others. We're more likely to be disengaged from people and things we like, and that can all reinforce each other in a cycle. So again, emotions can have a really powerful role in our day-to-day experience. So it makes sense that we want to read or find out more information about how to regulate or control our emotions. And that's exactly what regulating emotions is. It's our ability to influence, control, or manage what we're feeling, when feelings are occurring, and how we express those feelings or how we react to them. And if you think back to our information on mindfulness before, successfully regulating emotions really begins with awareness of what we're feeling. It's not until we identify exactly what feelings are coming up that we can understand where we are emotionally and how we can regulate them. This is an image of a feelings wheel. This is can be a really powerful tool and a really basic tool at the same time for identifying what we're feeling. In the middle of the wheel are our most primal, basic, or core emotions: sadness, anger, feeling peaceful or calm, happiness, joy. And from there, the emotions branch out into more subtle and nuanced feelings. So maybe as we think about the importance of identifying emotion, maybe we're upset, but we can take a closer and deeper look at what that upset feeling is. Maybe we're feeling hurt. Maybe we're feeling hostile or angry or selfish. And from there, we can take things out even further. Maybe we're feeling hurt and distant from someone else or something else, or hostile and sarcastic towards a situation. The feelings wheel is, again, just a tool to help us identify some more nuance in our emotional experience. And the more depth and the more detail that we can understand our emotions, the more accurately and specifically we can come up with a response to regulate what we're feeling and resolve the situation that's provoking the emotions. So identification can be one important piece of identifying or regulating emotions. Once we identify, we can do a better job at regulating. But it's not the only issue we might encounter or barrier to emotion regulation. Our biology, our genetics, our hormones that day can play a significant role in how we regulate emotions. If we inherited specific genes for low frustration tolerance, for example, it might be harder for us at baseline to regulate our emotions. That's not to say that biology determines how we respond to situations. We know that through engaging in therapy, through practicing skills, through consciously increasing our awareness, or starting a mindfulness practice, we can increase our emotion regulation skills and our abilities, regardless of where we are biologically. So biology is an important piece, but not the only piece. Another barrier can be a lack of skills. If we don't have the right tools for the job, there's no way we can complete the task. Think of like trying to build a house without a hammer and a saw. It just won't work. So if we don't have skills for regulating emotions, we're not going to be able to regulate them. When we act on our emotions without controlling them, there can be some consequences to that behavior. And sometimes that behavior can be really reinforcing or encouraging for us to do it again. Think about a child throwing a tantrum. You'd imagine someone who's throwing a tantrum is not regulating their emotions. They're fully in their feelings at that given time. But maybe they're throwing a tantrum because they want candy. And they're throwing this tantrum, and the parent who's trying to soothe the child isn't getting anywhere. So the parent's frustrated, they give up on trying to soothe the child, and they give in and give the child candy. All of a sudden, that child has learned that by throwing a tantrum, by not regulating their emotions, they can get what they want. So similar things or processes can work for adults as well, and we can learn them over time. So think about moments where you might feel less regulated. or find it harder to regulate. There may be some reinforcement behaviorally that's encouraging that particular behavior. Our day-to-day mood can also influence our ability to regulate emotions. Generally, stronger feelings that are more core or central to who we are or our experiences or how we define ourselves, are going to be harder to regulate than fleeting feelings or more mild emotions. So again, where we are on any given day can influence our ability to control how we feel. Emotional overload is, in essence, when we're feeling too many feelings at once for us to be able to successfully identify and regulate what we're feeling. If there's just too much stimuli in our environment, too many things coming at us, we can't possibly field everything at once. If we're overloaded, this can lead to burnout. It can lead to us feeling totally numb or disconnected from what we're feeling. It's just too much for us to regulate at that. And there's also a myth that some people hold dear that emotions can't be controlled. We know this isn't necessarily true. With the use of good identification and skills, a lot of emotions can be controlled or at very least reduced in their impact. So we can exert a significant influence on what we're feeling. By dispelling that myth, that reduces a barrier for us regulating emotions. So I'm going to turn over to Jess, who's going to talk a little bit about this really strong and important relationship between events and emotions.
Thanks, Matt. Something that I don't think we often think about or stop and take time to realize is how our emotions can be linked to what happened prior, or maybe even something that's coming up in the future. What makes us feel the way we feel, and we wonder about that, we can think about how we interpret the events that have happened. And when we're interpreting the events, they might have a positive or a negative skew that then affects the way that we feel. And I'll go through a couple examples of that with you and kind of what that might look like day to day. So for example, let's say that you take a test and you do not get the grade that you wish you got on the test. There we go. Sorry, that second image there, that's what I was thinking about. If that happens, maybe your thought is, I'm a failure and I'm probably going to fail out of school. If I fail out of school, I won't get the job I want. If I don't get the job I want, what was this all for? And some of those feelings, the accompanying feelings, could be sadness, despair, or hopelessness. But if you think about the event in a different way, if you interpret it differently, you can maybe think, I wish I studied harder and I can get my grade up if I study harder next time. And at that, the accompanying feelings with that could be frustration. It could be maybe a little bit of hopefulness that you're going to do better in the future, maybe some acceptance there. The first image that came up, this is another example. So say you had plans with someone and your friend cancels on you. And the thought could be, wow, they don't care about me, or they don't want to be my friend. And that could be accompanied by sadness, anger, or shame. But if you interpret the event differently, for example, what about, oh, well, they must be busy. And instead, the feeling is disappointment. It's not a judgment or an evaluation on the friendship itself. And a last example here can be getting cut off. That happens a lot when we're driving, and that can often bring on a lot of anger. And the thoughts could be, what a jerk, that person almost hit me, and you're feeling a lot of anger there. Or you can interpret the situation differently. Wow, I'm glad I was paying attention. I'm glad I was doing my part here. And there might not be a huge change in that anger there, but you also could feel relief. You could feel gratitude or thankfulness for your role in driving on the road and being safe. So this is just, a brief rundown, an example of how the way that we think about things often influences the way that we feel. And we can use this exercise ourselves to say, wait a minute, can I think about this in a different way? And if I do think about it differently, how might that affect my feelings? So we're going to introduce a skill called please. This please skill is based on reducing negative emotions. And so this is about the relationship between mind and body and how important that connection is. Your physical health and your emotional health are linked and can be tied together. So just the way that our thoughts can affect our emotions, our body and our physicality can affect our emotions too. So we'll start at the top. The P is standing for physical. If there's any physical illness or injury, to go ahead and take care of that, to seek out medical treatment. And if you've been prescribed a medication or vitamins, to take those, to follow the advice that you've been given by medical professionals. The E stands for eating. Eating balanced meals and avoiding foods that can change your emotions. So something that Matt was talking about before in terms of biology is that our hormones can change, and those can affect the way that we feel, and eating can affect your hormones. So eating regularly and eating balanced meals. And if this is something that you may struggle with, consider consulting a nutritionist to give you some advice on what's specific to your life and your body that might be helpful for you. Moving to the A stands for altering, so mood altering substances. If you're trying to reduce your negative emotions, it may be very important to avoid the use of illicit drugs or to reduce alcohol consumption. Substances that alter your mood or that alter your mind state can absolutely play a big part in affecting the way that you feel and may end up enhancing negative emotions in a way that you aren't looking for, in a way that you didn't intend. So this is a really important part of taking care of your mind and body. Moving to the S is sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And I know that this can be difficult in setting a routine or a schedule where getting this amount of sleep can be difficult, but it absolutely can affect your mood and affect your emotions throughout the day if you haven't received the proper amount of sleep. It might be really hard for you to reframe and interpret differently some of those events that we were talking about before if you haven't gotten enough sleep. And it may be difficult to be aware and to be mindful if you're exhausted or if your body's not running on 100%. And lastly, an E, the second E here is for exercise, trying to move for at least 20 minutes each day. Movement can release tension in your body, but can also affect hormones in your body. So this is another important aspect to consider when you're thinking about this mind-body connection. And so this is a pretty broad and global view of what you can do physically in terms of trying to manage the way that you're feeling. And this, I think, sometimes is left out of the conversation because we talk a lot about our thoughts and how they affect our emotions, but we have to think about our body too, and the mind-body connection and what we're doing that is negatively impacting our emotions, or what we can be doing that can be positive and can be a beneficial impact. So another thing that we're going to tell you about today is self-soothing skills. So we've talked about decreasing negative emotions. Let's get to increasing the positive emotions. So there are positive or pleasurable activities that you can partake in. And these enjoyable activities are things that are inherent mood boosters, such as calling a friend. We have down here collecting stamps. I myself like to collect flowers outside, something that helps me get out of my space and appreciate something that I find particularly enjoyable. Participating in the arts, through painting, drawing, music, dance, poetry. Maybe hanging out with pets, that's awesome, or doing a virtual game night with friends. This is a time where you can kind of think about the activities that you find yourself called to, and increasing and filling up those time slots in your day with something that you find enjoyable. Engaging in enjoyable activities is a great mood booster. We're also gonna impress upon you the importance of self-soothing skills. So when it's appropriate and necessary to comfort yourself, to nurture yourself, and to be gentle with yourself, to give yourself grace. Right now, what we're all going through with the COVID-19 pandemic is difficult. And this is a great example of a time where we might need comfort. We really might need to take care of ourselves. So when you're stressed, when you're depressed, or when you're facing a conflict, when you're facing large changes that are really difficult, this is a time to soothe. This is important to consider in terms of how we handle challenges. There's a time to solve problems and to look for solutions and maybe consult with others about how to move forward. And there's also just time to soothe yourself, to maybe that looks like taking a break, or maybe that looks like exercising. Maybe that's a hot shower or a hot cup of tea, or maybe that is calling a friend and talking it out. So being mindful of the way that you are often looking to solve a problem or looking to soothe yourself, and finding an appropriate balance there. Matt said something funny before. He said we can't sit on the couch all the time and eat bonbons, but we also can't approach every solution with this problem-solving practicality. So something that we're suggesting too is to check out the Counseling Center's website. There's handouts and activities ideas there. Some of them are based on self-soothing and enjoyable activities. And there's also, I'm sure, plenty of problem-solving skills there as well. So go ahead and check that out. Thank you all for attending. Really appreciate this and hope that this was helpful for you. If you have questions, comments, or feedback, please be sure to get in touch. And be sure to tune in next time. We're going to be doing a workshop on interpersonal effectiveness. Definitely hope to see you there. Thank you.